Travis was back home in New York City after a truly wonderful 3-week summer vacation in the Catskill Mountains with his grandparents. He already missed them but was also very happy to be with his parents and friends again. He still had a couple of weeks before school was to reopen and had some time to kill. He considered going to Central Park to enjoy nature. It certainly wouldn't compare with the lake and forest at his grandparents' cabin in the Catskills, and precisely because it couldn't compare, he decided not to go. At least not so soon after coming back home. His parents were both still working, so he was alone in the house. He decided to grab a book he had recently received from Amazon Books and go into the backyard to read. The weather was quite nice today, and the gardens, although small, were very private, calming, and beautiful. His mother made sure of that as gardening was a passion for her. Travis made a hot chocolate before heading out into the garden with a book he was looking forward to reading. It was titled Talking with Nature. Michael J. Rhodes wrote it. Within this book and many more that he has written, the author proposed that someone very attuned to nature and natural things could become one with nature and end up communicating and existing on their levels. The author claimed to see and appreciate the elements of nature and merge with them, which resulted in integration with their creative individuality. Travis had come pretty close to immersing himself into that same reality while in the Catskill forests, and he was interested in taking it forward. He had gone somewhat beyond it by meeting a discarnate entity named Tiber. Tiber appeared to him in various forms. Tiber was teaching Travis what his earth life and spiritual evolution should mean to him. Travis had loved the last 3 lessons with Tiber, and he felt that he had been learning a lot. Travis settled into a comfortable chair in the garden and started reading. He thought that this existence couldn't get much better than lounging here on a beautiful sunny day in a colorful garden while sipping on hot chocolate and reading a great book. After he finished about 2 chapters, Travis noticed that many flying insects were flittering from flower to flower. He saw several different bees, including a large bumblebee that he found fascinating to see and hear as it visited the center of one flower after another. Then many beautiful butterflies seemed to share the flowers with the other insects. Travis considered how democratic they were about this sharing thing. Then his eyes started to track an iridescent blue and green dragonfly moving throughout the garden with the most dramatic aerobatics possible. It darted upwards and then downwards, and then seemingly backward and then reversed to forward, all in the blink of an eye. He wondered why he had not been this aware of dragonflies before now. This creature was amazing. Then, as if the dragonfly suddenly became aware of Travis, it jetted over to him and hovered directly out from his eyes at a distance of about 2 feet. Travis was startled to now be looking directly into the brilliant blue face of this flying insect and watched its 4 iridescent wings oscillating at an unbelievable rate of speed. It hovered for about 15 seconds, and then started glowing in iridescent blue and green mistiness until its form shimmered and turned into a golden and hazy shape that soon became the human being that Travis knew was Tiber. Tiber now stood directly in front of Travis and was dressed in navy blue cargo-style board shorts and a white cotton polo shirt. He had brown leather sandals on and was wearing a belt to match.
Hi, Tiber. You look great as always, but I thought you looked even better as a bluish-green dragonfly.
I try to look great no matter what I am at the time.
Tiber then settled into a chair close to Travis and continued.
You look pretty spiffy yourself. I assume that unironed shirts and ragged shorts and no shoes are the current cultural flavor.
Screw you. I am at home in my garden and will dress as I please.
Oh dear, I can see that I am going to have to deal with the newly emerged adolescent male ego again during this lesson. But as I promised you last time, this lesson will be about love. So I will have to hammer my way through this session.
Travis smiled and said,
Okay, I'm ready, and as long as I don't have to tell you I love you, I'll muddle through this lesson.
It's too late. I heard you say it when I left our last lesson. You didn't think I heard it, but I did.
Travis remained silent for a few seconds until he asked,
Is this lesson going to be about physical love or spiritual love?
Love is love, but we are going to concentrate on spiritual love as our lesson structure. I'd rather stay away from physical love and particularly teenage boy emerging type physical love. That's too much to deal with at this point. But love does dribble over between the physical and spiritual realms, so we will be touching on all kinds of love.
Well, ignoring that remark as best I can, what exactly is love? And why is it important for the evolution of the soul, which I think you have said, or perhaps someone else said?
Uh, I'll take credit for that one. And yes, love is critical for the evolution of the soul. It's also important and even fun in this earthly realm, but it often loses its zip, and then many problems set in. The loss of love is a very sad thing, and that loss often results in terrible repercussions from the person once loved. So love is not reliable in many earthly cases, but it still has a lot of value, and you are always better for having loved in the long run. As the saying goes, it is better to have loved and lost it than it is not to have loved at all.
Tiber. The saying is, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote that.
Of course he did. I was checking to see if you remembered it.
Sure you were. But how do you define spiritual love? If I am to learn about this subject, how do I know what love is?
Well, let's start with what love is not. Spiritual love is not lust or avarice of any kind. To desire something is not to love something, even though really good chocolate ice cream comes pretty close. You can say I love almost anything and mean you really, really like that something or someone. Love based on a desire of any kind is generally transient. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it often means that it's a temporary thing. Time, experience, or other factors can even diminish your love for even really good chocolate ice cream. And we don't even need to think about what happens to lust after familiarity creeps into the picture.
I'm too young to understand your references to lust fading, and what is this obsession with you and chocolate ice cream?
We all acquire infatuations while experiencing an incarnation as a physical entity, and every so often, we will take those passions with us into the transition zone after we pass. And I have not been successful in overcoming an need for really good chocolate ice cream, even though I have been able to throw off the lust thing pretty well. But listen, Travis. What I am trying to get across to you is the concept of not taking the physical and an overall obstructed universe-centric way of thinking too seriously. You have to deal with physical and emotional influences with the proper perceptive and act on them appropriately. When you love someone, and that love ends due to any reason, the appropriate response is to cherish what was and accept the new situation for you to endure. It isn't always easy, but it is necessary. You must never let a lost love turn negative in any way, or you will pay the price of allowing that to happen. The worst position to adopt is to replace love with hate, absolute regret, or even an I don't give a damn mood, and most certainly the worst reaction. Don't initiate vengeance in any form.
Okay, I get it, but what about spiritual love? That's what these lessons are supposed to cover.
You are an impatient one, but you are correct. Spiritual love is, in actuality, what constitutes all souls. But you have to experience this love to truly understand it, which you come closer to understanding between incarnations. However, knowledge of that experience did not arrive with you into this earthly realm when you were born for many reasons to establish an individual identity. I'll attempt to get you to remember some of it in this lesson. In a previous lesson, I told you that we are all direct creations of supreme consciousness, which you people seem to insist on calling God. Supreme consciousness is pure love, and every soul created is infused with that same pure love, along with free will and many other attributes. We have to use free will to establish an individual identity, which is an important aspect of personal evolution. This free will was also a gift of creation, as was the gift of love and ego, but ego often inclines to subdue or alter that tendency to love. These and other conflicting characteristics incorporated into all souls are required to form a complete spiritual being that is a replica of supreme consciousness and yet has its own identity because of its acquired memories and spiritual characteristics shaped by its personal experiences. Remember that everything that you have ever experienced in this and every other reincarnation is remembered, and can be recalled forever. Unlike our sojourn here in the obstructed realm, unlike our life here, where we often wish we could remember something, our mortal life is blessed or cursed, depending on your viewpoint, with never being able to forget anything. In the long run, it is a fantastic gift, but it forces us to render a judgment and force a remedy to how we are evolving.
This is an amazing lesson, and I am beginning to understand something that I had not considered before. You said that supreme consciousness is pure love, but I am confused about your statement. Why does supreme consciousness allow so many terrible things, such as suffering and terror, to happen to souls that have been created? I don't believe that I could overlook such things if I were in charge.
This is the most difficult thing for those in the obstructed realms to understand, and that is because they don't conceive of what immortality means. We are never going to perish because we are immortal, and in a way that makes us a bit like the superheroes you see in the movies. The primary difference is that those characters rarely feel pain or receive extreme damage to themselves, and are seemingly impervious to the terrible things that happen to them. That might be nice, but it is not a process that is likely to help in the evolution of a soul. The superhero is a stunted and limited personality regardless of its physical attributes. The rest of us must experience hardships, suffering, and all the other difficult things that make us grow stronger and wiser. We are quite aware that accomplished people quite often need to travel a very difficult path to get to the heights they seek. As terrible as that is, it is necessary, and we all have to do it. Just as it is hard for parents to listen to their baby crying for many reasons, they know they can't take the suffering away and can only try to comfort them. Their period of suffering is always less in duration than our entire lifetime is when you consider that our actual lifespans, to use that understated term, are eternal. So you see, my boy, a better understanding of our existence's immortal nature helps us comprehend all manner of things that are difficult to comprehend. Supreme consciousness doesn't require us to suffer because of not caring, but because it is an essential process of evolving into a complete spiritual being. You will find that passage out of an incarnation and into the transition realm will provide souls with ways to resolve the problems they had during the previous reincarnation, and that includes the sufferings they endured.
Wow, that is heavy stuff, man. How does supreme consciousness manifest love?
Supreme consciousness manifests itself in much the same way that everyone does while they are experiencing life in this and other similar realms, but the intensity of supreme consciousness love is far greater. It is very normal that we can easily fall in love with a newborn baby, a kitten or puppy, or even a flower, or most certainly a mother and father, grandparents, uncles, and aunts. You can be smitten with love for another human, even while you are still a little child, and feel a form of love at that time for that person, and this will normally continue throughout your lifespan. You can be overwhelmed with love for nature or almost any creation of nature when you immerse yourself into it. The difference between you and supreme consciousness is that supreme consciousness has no conflicts, such as an ego or special interests when it comes to its creations. Its love is total and without restrictions. This means that with supreme consciousness, forgiveness is always assured even though the soul requiring forgiveness must continue its evolution until perfection is assured. Forgiveness is why it is so important to transition out of any form of love lost without replacing love with hate, absolute regret, or even an I don't give a damn mood, and never to initiate vengeance in any form against a past love. Always remember the love you had felt for a cherished soul, and continue to think kind thoughts no matter how the separation occurred. You must remember that even though a loved one is gone out of your earthly life, they will never be out of your spiritual one. You will see them again whenever it fits into your evolutionary needs or desires. and keeping that love alive will benefit all souls that are interacting together.
Well, you have certainly convinced me and made me think more about how I currently feel about those that I love and further how I should continue to feel about how I should manifest that love. I also now realize that I should increase the intensity of extending my feeling of love for all people, animals, nature, and much more. It means that it's sort of like, but even better than giving Christmas gifts. The more you give, the better it makes you feel. A gift of love means that a gift will be returned to you and often in a greater form.
You got it, my boy. I'm going to leave you with these thoughts, and I know you will expand on them as you proceed along with this current reincarnation.
Thank you very much. And by the way, I love you very much.
I love you too. See how easy that was?
And with that, Tiber began to shimmer with that beautiful golden glow that gradually turned bluish-green, and 4 brilliantly shining wings started to rotate and buzz with great energy as the newly reformed dragonfly darted up and away from Travis to disappear in the flower garden. Travis sighed and internally smiled to himself. He couldn't wait for the next lesson and to see Tiber again. But now, back to his book. Here again, I hope you enjoyed episode number 4. Remember, you are just getting used to Travis getting to know Tiber, so we are going pretty slow in the process. As the episodes go forward, so will the variations and complexities of the lessons. Currently, Tiber is choosing to stay pretty basic in teaching Travis various subjects that he needs to know, but eventually, the classes will become more complex. Also, Tiber is currently choosing to keep the lessons on familiar turf for Travis, but he plans to create more complex and exciting venues. So adventures will soon become the norm, and I am sure you will enjoy that a lot. Stay tuned for episode number 5, where Tiber talks of ego and how important it is to recognize what an ego is and how to control it. You might be surprised by how enjoyable this subject is. Please visit our website, theemeraldcrystal.com, to see, read, or hear more of our literary offerings. You may purchase our spiritual thriller novels, Quest for the Emerald Crystal Book Number 1 Spiritual Warriors in the Bahamas, or Quest for the Emerald Crystal, Book Number 2 Spiritual Warriors in Belize, and Quest for the Emerald Crystal Book Number 3 Spiritual Warriors in the Caribbean, within the website or on Amazon.com.